do my best to keep an eye on the chat. So if you have any questions, it might be easier just to unmute yourself. That's totally fine. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump into Paradex. All right, so first things first, you can get the slideshow for today at the short link you see at the bottom of the screen, bit.ly/capital NEO lowercase Paradex, bit.ly bit.ly/capital NEO lowercase Paradex. You just type that into your address bar like so, bit.ly/capital NEO lowercase Paradex, and that will get you the whole slideshow for today. And we'll go ahead and officially get rolling here. So again, welcome to our session for Paradex. My name is Dan Neeson. I'm the Technology Integration Specialist at NeoNet. Here's my email, dneeson@neonet.org. So if you have any questions, it's the best way to get a hold of me. And let's go ahead and dive into our to-do list. So here's our list of things we'll take a look at here today in Paradex. So we'll look at what is Paradex. I'll give a nice explanation here. We'll talk about how do I get Paradex. Then we'll go into a live demo. Then we'll talk about some of the more logistical sort of stuff here. So the student and teacher paste modes, how to look at results afterwards, how to make these slide decks for yourself. How to use the flashcard factory. That's kind of a separate part of Paradex, but it's still a cool thing that you can do. And we'll also talk about reflect and review. That's another feature of Paradex. Now, today's session, we'll talk about the free version and the paid version. When we get to things that are on the paid version, I'll let you know. And with that said, let's go ahead and go into our first part here. What is Paradex? So put simply here, Paradex is a Google Slides add-on that allows you to easily turn your slideshows into an interactive learning tool. So instead of just presenting information, you basically can sprinkle in all sorts of activities into your slideshow in order to formatively or even summatively assess your students. You can drop in multiple choice questions, short answer questions, different drawing slides where you can have kids just draw on top of a blank canvas. You can give them a graphic organizer and have them draw things on top of there. We'll go into all that stuff here today. And you can even add this interactivity to slideshows that you already have. So if you've been teaching the same thing for 5-10 years and you use the same slideshow every year, you can just grab that slideshow and go and sprinkle in some Paradex activities within it to make it more interactive. Next question then is, okay, so how do I get it? So Paradex is a Google Slides add-on. So the way to get it is to go to the add-ons menu in Google Slides and then just simply go to Get Add-ons and search for Paradex. It'll be one of the first things that you see. It's super, super popular. You'll probably see it on that first page. And like I said, there is a free version and a paid version. Again, whenever we run into one of the features that's in the paid version, I'll let you know. But you do get a lot of stuff for free, which is great. Now, once you have Paradex installed, you'll open up Paradex anytime you are in Google Slides under that add-ons menu, and then you can start working on a Paradex activity. To launch a Paradex session in class, you open up that sidebar, and you'll see what all this stuff looks like in just a little bit, and you'll click on Start Lesson. You're not going to go to your normal present button that you normally do to make this screen go full screen for a Google slideshow. There's a special Paradex button where you'll actually launch a session. Again, we're going to do this here live in just a second. Okay, so here's our first example of what a Paradex slide can look like. As you notice here, I just went to this slide and there's nothing different. I'm just sitting here in the present mode in Google Slides. And because I'm in this mode, the people that are in here with me can't participate in any way. So I'm going to change one thing here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on the Paradex mode here so we can go ahead and actually do this together. Okay, so what we're going to do is I have my slide deck already prepared here. I have a bunch of activities already in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the add-ons menu, and I'll go find Paradex. And I'll click Open Paradex Add-on. And I'll open this sidebar. You'll also notice I have this extra Paradex button over here that's just kind of sitting here at the top, this one here, it is, that one does the same thing. That one shows up if you have the Paradex extension for your browser installed. You don't have to have it. It's kind of an extra thing that you can do. It saves you a click. Anyway, once we have this sidebar opened, this is that Paradex start button that I was talking about. So when we want to do a Paradex session, we do not do the normal white present button up at the top. Instead, we do this green one down here, this start lesson. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually start this. And for people that are here live with us, I'll actually have you come in and join into this activity. Okay, so it'll take a few seconds to boot up for me. And so as this loads here, I'm going to change the way I'm sharing my screen real quick, actually. So hang on 1 second. Okay. And so once I click that green Paradex start button, I can choose student paced mode or instructor paced mode. Since I'm just doing this together here, we'll do instructor paced mode. Again, we'll talk about what the difference is in just a little bit. But what you guys will do is, I'm going to go ahead and log in here real quick. If you are in the call with us, just open up a new tab, and I'm going to give you a join code here in just a second. Once this loads for me. As you can see, it takes a few seconds to load, so this is a good thing to do before all your kids are in the classroom ready to go. So you might want to kind of load all up this stuff beforehand. Okay, and so what you'll do, you guys are going to take the role of my students, and if you're here live with us, you'll open up a new tab and go to joinpd.com, and then you'll put in this join code here. So joinpd.com, and then you'll put in the code BQABQX. Okay, I'm just going to cheat and copy this here. I'll just join from another account so you can see what the student perspective looks like. So again, you have to joinpd.com. This is what students will do. And we'll drop in the code. And we'll go ahead and sign in. I should mention as we go here, the teacher has the option whether or not to force students to sign in with their Google account here. If you don't want them to sign in, you don't have to. And this is what the student perspective looks like. And so as of right now, it just kind of pulls up the slideshow like normal. I'm going to jump back over to the teacher side. And if you are here live with us here, let me actually do this. I'll split my screen so we can kind of have the two perspectives going here. So on the left side of the screen, this is the teacher's side. This is the teacher's perspective. On the right side of my screen here is the student's perspective. Okay. And so on the student's perspective, you'll notice because I have it in teacher-paced mode or instructor-paced mode, the students cannot move from slide to slide. We're all going to be on the same slide at the same time. Now, I didn't start the session yet, so I'm actually going to go ahead and start it. So I'll click on Start Class. And wherever the teacher goes, everyone is going to come along with me at the same time. So if I want to jump to the next slide, we'll see it all change in real time. Okay, so we already talked about what is Paradex. We already talked about how to get it. So let's go to our first actual activity slide. And this one here is from one of their templates. They have a bunch of templates like we'll talk about in a little bit. And this is one of their templates from their SEL, Social Emotional Learning section. And so for this one, you just simply drag the little blue dot to how was your day today. And so if this student had a pretty good day, maybe kind of between the middle face and the slightly happy face there. And wherever you drag and drop your dot, the teacher is going to see all this stuff in real time. So I'll make the teacher side full screen again. And I'll look at all the people's responses, and I can see all this stuff change in real time. Okay. And let's go to our next activity. So this next one here is a multiple choice question. Let me go to full screen for the student here. And so this one obviously has a little picture here, and we want to have students figure out what letter goes, would you put in the blank to match the picture. And so of course I would say I would add the letter C. Okay. And again, on the teacher side here, I'll be able to see all this data come in instantly in real time. All right, let's go over to our next one. Same sort of question. And I'll get one wrong just so you can see the differences here. And again, I'm able to see all the different responses. If I go to these little buttons up here in the top left corner of the teacher side, I can choose to have basically like a grid layout where I see each individual session response, or I can kind of stack them and get everything all in one view. All right, let's go on to our next one. This is another one of their pre-made templates. This is a good one too. These are in their section of like beginning of class activities. And so this one is, what do you wonder about today's topic? And as you can see on the right side here, the students have a spot to put in whatever they like. And put in whatever you like. Again, there's no submit button or anything that students have to do to finish. We'll just simply wait. On the teacher side here, we'll simply wait until we get all the responses in that we like, and we'll be able to see, all these responses come in. Okay. Another cool thing you can do, since I'm here, is if I want to basically set a time limit for how much time kids get to respond to the question I have for them. You'll notice this little lock button here. If I give that a click, you'll notice on the student's side, it locks their screen so they cannot respond any further. Okay, so I can manually turn that on. As an extra cool thing that you can also do, if you click and hold on this little lock from the teacher side and click and hold it for just about like a half a second, you'll have a couple of options, 30 seconds, a minute, or 3 minutes, and you can put a timer on their screen. Once that timer goes off, it'll lock their screen again. So if you want to get responses in within 30 seconds or a minute or 3 minutes, you can get those responses in super, super quick. And so we can kind of keep class moving. We're not going to be dilly-dallying around waiting for students to answer. Okay, and we'll wait the other 5 seconds here just to show you what it looks like. Once it locks, in 2 seconds, 1. There it is. And of course, on the right side of the screen there, on the student side, it was all locked up. And of course, the teacher can turn it on or off, turn the lock on or off whenever they like. All right, let's keep going. So this next one here, this is our drawing style slide. I'll open up the student perspective all the way here. And so from this slide type, the teacher can put in whatever sort of background or prompt or anything that they want. The one I did for this one was circle all of the animals that you would find living in water. And of course, this is, if you're looking at the screen for me here, we have the student's perspective. And we have all our drawing tools at the bottom. So we can do a pencil, a highlighter, we can draw lines, put in some text, and we have an eraser. And we can pick whatever color that we want. I'll do green, and I'm going to do the pencil. I can change up how thick it's going to be from this little slider. And then, of course, I'll pick all the animals that I would find living in water. Oops, not the monkey. Go ahead and erase that here. Make the a little bit bigger. Oops. And that one, and that one, and that one. Boom. Perfect. So now, back on the teacher's perspective yet again here, I can lock screens if I want to only give them a certain amount of time. And again, I can go and look at everybody's responses all in one page, get all this instant information right in the moment here. So of course, I can go in and here, see how kids are responding, and then if I need to do some reteaching, I can do it right away. All right, let's keep on going. Next one here. So this is the same type of slide that we saw before, but instead of using it for a social emotional check, we're doing this one for like a map activity. As you can imagine, any sort of activity that you want, where you want students just to move a dot to somewhere on the page, we can do that. And so for this case here, maybe we're doing a geography lesson or something like that, and maybe I'll have students drag their dot to the right spot on the map as I say it. And so for the first one, maybe I'll say, okay, everybody move your dot to Australia. And so every kid would move their dot, they put it down over on Australia. And of course, I would see all those responses come in again in real time. So I could put in a background of whatever I like, any sort of diagram, picture, whatever I like. And if I wanted to say, okay, kids, move all your dots over to China, and they move their dot over to China. Okay, and again, of course, as you can see on the screen here, it's all going to be updating up in real time. Only a couple more here. Here's another way to use the drawing type of slide. Let me make this full screen. It's a little bit easier to see. And same exact type of slide that we saw earlier, but instead of circling different types of animals here, I have a different type of activity here. And so the directions say use the highlight tool to make every noun red, every verb green, and every adjective blue. And so of course I'd use the highlight tool, and I want to make every noun red. Okay, so a fox, and I think dog, those are nouns. And I want every verb to be green, so I turn it green here. Verb is, let's see, jump, and I think that's it. And then every adjective will be blue. Okay, so quick and brown, those are both adjectives. And lazy is also an adjective. There we go. And so, of course, I can have whatever sort of activity that I like. And as you can imagine, you can really adjust this tool to kind of fit whatever content that you like. Okay, and again, there's the teacher side where I can look at all this information come up in real time. Right, here's another kind of drag and drop activity. Same kind of thing that we saw earlier a couple of times. This one just has a different style of dot. Instead of it being a little blue dot, this one has a little compass. This is from one of the templates. And again, we'll take a look at more templates as we go further. Okay. And here's another one. Same, you'll notice again, it's the same type of slide. All the kids are doing is just moving a dot. And of course, this one's kind of more of like an agree or disagree sort of thing. You can also do this for like a true or false activities, that sort of thing. And we'll say fall is the best season. Fall is the best season. That's my favorite season. So we'll move our little blue dot over to the thumbs up. Okay. Here's one that's a little bit different here. This one is also a drawing slide. The easiest way to know is, of course, we have our drawing tools here on the student side. Again, it's all the exact same drawing tools that we saw. It's just the content that's on the slide changed. So instead of doing, early elementary activities where we're just circling what animal would live in the water, we're actually doing some slope intercepts here. And so we can have students come in here and they'll use the pencil tool and they'll draw out all our different dots for where the slope is supposed to be. Okay. All right. Next one here, this is another one of our open response questions. And again, we kind of saw one already for, it was like a, what do you hope to learn today sort of thing. But of course, you can drop these short response questions right into the page, or right into your slides here. And of course, students will be able to type in whatever they like. All right, I think this is our last one here. So this one is another one from the social emotional templates. And so this one has a little meter bar thing and has students drag this bar to kind of where they are feeling in terms of their stress. Okay, and again, we'll see all this stuff update in real time. So the student kind of moves it over, they're feeling better. Of course, I'll see this stuff all update in real time. A question in the chat from Dawn that says, can you see what response belongs to which student? From this point, no. You will be able to see it on the back end once you finish up a session and look at the report. But during the session, no. Even if we go look at this view here where we have kind of the list layout, we're not going to be able to tell, unfortunately, which student is saying what. All right. So let me go ahead and close out this here. If you're in the Paradex session, you can go ahead and jump out. That was the end of our live demo part here. All right, so like I kind of mentioned at the beginning of that little demo there, you can set a Paradex session to be student-paced or instructor-paced. The one we just did was instructor-paced. So if we do student-paced, though, students can go through the slide at their own pace. They can go from slide to slide. They can jump around however they like. All that we have to do is simply give them the link or the join code to get into there, and then we can let them go do it whenever they like, whenever they have time. Okay. Of course, we can also do instructor pace where everybody is all together at the same time on the same slides. Okay, so you can run that either way. You're going to do that when you go to launch the session. Okay, you also do have the option to change this on the fly during a session. So if I, start out a Paradex session here as instructor pace and I want to flip it over to student pace, I can change that. So if I go to the three dots here, once I'm already running the session, here under these little three dots in the bottom right, I can set it to turn on student paced, and then that will give the students the freedom to move around to whatever slides that they like. Okay, so you can still change it on the fly. All right, there's an extra bonus. There's just a reminder of how to do it. To set a timer for those interactive slides. Again, you just click and hold on that lock screen button. Then you go from 30 seconds to 3 minutes. And then once that timer's up, it'll lock their screens. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about looking at results. So the way that we can go and look at all the information, all the data that we collect is by going over to the Paradex home website, and then we'll log in and look at all the results. So let's go ahead and jump over there. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and close this session, actually. So I'm going to go to the end button here at the bottom right, and I'll call this 11, 10, 21 Paradex training. Talk more about this reflection and review stuff once we get there. All right, so now let's go ahead and jump over to Paradex.com. And again, the reason we're coming over here is so we can go look at all the reports and all the information that we collected from students during the sessions. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and log in. And there we go, so we're nice and logged in here. And so once we get logged in, we'll go up to the top left and we'll go under sessions. And this is where we're going to start to see some differences between the paid and the free version. Everything that we saw so far is in the free version. Okay. Now, I'll kind of split apart some of the differences here. If you are on the free version, you're a little limited in what you see, quote unquote, when you're looking at the reports. So once we have a training that's a session that's over, so here's ours that we just did here. So this first row here, we'll go over to the little three dots at the end, and we're going to go and look for export to spreadsheet. And this is in the free version, so you'll always have this option. And what it's doing here is it's basically making a summary Google Sheet of whatever happened in the session. Okay, and one thing you'll start to notice is for some questions, you're going to have information that's not super useful. So what I mean by that is take a look at this column here, these columns. So if you remember, that very first question was that little smiley face thing and like how you're feeling today. You move that blue dot to how you were feeling. Okay, and because we are only looking at a spreadsheet, we're just getting like X and Y coordinate values, so it's not particularly useful. And so if you want to really gather some solid data and you're on the free version of Paradex, it's the best to ask questions that are going to do the short answer responses, because then you're going to get actual information or the multiple choice options. Okay, so if you want to have solid data on the back end where you maybe take things for a grade or what have you, you'll want to take or ask questions that are the short answer ones or the multiple choice ones. Otherwise, you're just going to get things like drawing, and you're going to see what that actually is, or you're going to get these like X, Y coordinates. Okay. Now, if you are on the paid version, we can actually go back and look at exactly what the different different slides look like. Okay, so if I come in here, and what I can do is click on this little square icon here. This is what they call the dashboard. Again, was just on the free. I'm sorry, this is just going to be in the paid version. On the paid version, you'll have this option. In the free version, you will not. And so we'll go ahead and open this little square icon here. And this is opening the dashboard, as they call it. And so what this will do, let me jump over to a slide that has some activities on it here. I'll be able to go back here and look at how students responded. And at this point, I'll be able to see which students responded in which way. Okay, so there we go. I have a student's name here. I can see which people did not respond. I can have all this like individual information. Okay, then I can basically just run from slide to slide and see how people responded. Okay, so again, I'll show that one more time here. I'll back up. The way to get to this page is we log into Paradex website. We go up to the top left and go under sessions. And then under whichever session that we wanted, we click on this little square icon here that's next to the three dots. And that'll open up that page. Okay, again, that's only in the paid version though. All right, so now let me go ahead and jump back here. And we'll jump back over to this slide here. All right. So again, looking at results, again, you'll get a decent amount of information from the free version, but again, in the paid version, you kind of get more details. All right. And there's a picture of it, again, of what that looks like. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about how we actually create these decks. Okay, again, you can use any new or existing Google slideshows that you have. As a side note, you can use Pear Deck with PowerPoint as well. So if you're a Microsoft user, you prefer PowerPoint, you can install the add-in, the Pear Deck add-in for PowerPoint as well. It works essentially the exact same way, but for our purposes, we'll just focus on the Google side of things, but you can use it with PowerPoint. Okay, so again, we'll install the Pear Deck add-on, and then we'll open the add-on and just start making activities. All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. So I'll just use a brand new Google slideshow. So just make a brand new Google slide. Again, you can do this exact same thing. The process is going to be exactly the same if you're using a slideshow that you've actually used before. So we'll go ahead and make our slideshow. We can put a theme on here if we want to, give it a fun theme. There we go. And once we're ready, we can go ahead and install Paradex. So if we don't have it already, again, we go to the add-ons menu, go to get add-ons, and we'll search for Paradex from this box once this loads for me. Again, it's so popular, it's probably going to be one of the first things that shows up. So there it is. And then you'll be able to install it from here. Okay. Now, once you have that installed, we'll go ahead and open up Paradex. And just as we would to actually launch a session, to have kids actually come in here and start working, this is the same sidebar that we're going to use to create our activities. Okay, and there's a few differences in the free and the paid version. They're fairly minor. In the free version, you have fewer options under this section here for ask students a question. They kind of more limit the questions that you can ask here. These ones down here, these like 6 different choices, these are the kind of blank versions of these different types of slides that you can do. But each of these 6 different types of slides you can find here in the template library. You can just use the template and then adjust it however you like. So you're not really losing out on anything there. Okay. All right. So what I recommend generally is just stick with the templates because you can still change them and use them however you like. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the template library. And we'll see there's a bunch of different categories. So there's lesson builders for beginning or the middle or the end of a lesson. We have different kind of subcategories here for like critical thinking or social emotional learning. And there's even subject area examples. So we have example questions, ones for littles, math, science, social studies, world languages, ELA, whatever we like. Okay, so let's start off at the beginning of a lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and do a beginning of the lesson template. And we can see all these different examples that come up here. And so it might be a little hard to see it from your end here, but it says, as you come in and get settled, follow these instructions. So we have some instructions here on the slide, and the kids will do various different tasks. Or we can ask a question like, what did you learn from the homework? Maybe we can do draw or type 2 things you already know about today's topic. Think of a question your classmates might have. So there's several different ones here. And let's say, maybe I'll do this one. So draw or type 2 things that you already know about today's topic. So I click on it, it drops in a new slide. It doesn't draw on top of an existing slide, so it actually makes a brand new slide in the deck. And now from this new slide, I can do whatever I'd like. I can change up anything on the slide, everything except this bar here at the bottom. So this little bar that I just moved here, just leave it at the bottom, just leave it alone. Definitely don't delete it. Just kind of leave that one alone. Everything else though, you can keep. I'm sorry, you can change rather, excuse me. And so if I want to say, instead of draw or type 2 things, maybe I'll say draw one thing and write about one thing you already know about today's topic. Okay, that looks a little bit smaller, so it kind of fits in there. And if I don't want to have these little numbers here, they're just pictures, I can get rid of them. If I like this divider that they kind of already have on here, maybe I want to move it over a little bit. If I want to put in, another text box in here, it's just a normal slide, so I can put in whatever I like. So maybe I'll just put drawing, and I'll put in. Style it up however I like. It works just like a normal slide from here because it really is. And of course, I can do whatever I like from here. Okay. Once I'm ready, I can move on to the rest of my slideshow. If I have some more lecture slides I need to do, I can have those in there. And then once it's time to do some more interactive stuff here, I can come in here. Maybe I'll do something from during the lesson. Okay. And so maybe I'll do a true and false one. They have another template in here for a simple true and false activity. Okay, this one you'll notice here has a little indicator right below the slide that tells you what type of slide it is. So this one's a multiple choice. You hover over the little question mark, it tells you what it is. And there we go. So here's my multiple choice question, and I can, of course, change up anything on the slide as well. Again, these true and false things are just text and images. Okay, and so if I want to change them up, I can do whatever I like. All right, and let's go back here. And let's say, how about I go back to this section here, kind of this first level here. If you don't want to use any of the templates, again, these 6 choices down here, I think they prevent you from using 2 of them. I can't remember which in the free version. But again, you can still use them, the same type of question, if you just grab one of the templates. But anyway, so if I want to do maybe like a multiple choice question at the end of the lesson here, if I click on choice, it'll give me some options here. Oh, actually, hold on a second. The reason that it already said true and false is because I'm looking at this slide, and this true and false slide, is already a multiple choice. So I'm going to make a new slide actually real quick here. And then I'm going to go in, click on choice. And then I'll put in my different options. So if I say, maybe I'll ask who was the first president or something. I'll say George Washington, Jefferson, or James Madison. And then, of course, I'll put in my question here. I can write whatever I like on the slide. Who was the first of the United States. Okay. And maybe I'll put in a picture to here too. I'm just really making the point here that it is a normal Google slide. This is Paradex is just an add-on. It's extra features that you can do. So if I want to put George Washington in here, have a picture up in there. Boom. There we go. Okay. So just like that, we have a multiple choice slide here built right into the slideshow. Okay. And of course, as you can imagine, if you are doing a traditional slideshow that has information slides in here, has some text or has a video embedded in there, or has some lecture sort of stuff, of course, you can just sprinkle in these interactive bits throughout the slideshow to make it more interactive, keep kids engaged, and get that information from them as they're learning, and you get more data, which is always good. All right. All right, so let me jump back over here. Okay, so like I said, you can create your own activities from scratch or use a template. Again, templates are completely adjustable. You can change whatever you want, just don't delete that bar at the bottom. And you can, of course, use adjust whatever actual content that you like. Okay, once you're done building out your session, then you open up the sidebar. Again, if it's already open, it'll be there, obviously. And we just click on that green Start Lesson button, just like we saw earlier. So once I'm ready to launch this session, I'll click on Start Lesson, that green button there in the sidebar. And again, I'll pick student-paced mode or instructor-paced mode. And maybe this time I'll do student-paced mode. Okay. It will load up in a new tab for us. It's going to give us all the sharing information that we can use to send it out to our students. Okay, and we'll get this page here. So it'll pop up here, and we can give this link out to students. This button for Share to Classroom you can also do. I'll talk about how to turn this on in just a little bit. And of course, if I want to just put this link right into Google Classroom, I can have this pop up in my my fall 2021 Google Classroom, make an assignment out of it, and there we go. Okay, and it'll be posted right there in my class, ready to go. Okay, notice it also does give you the traditional join code too. So if you want to have kids join the same way that we did earlier, where they go to joinpd.com and they put in that code there, that works too. All right. So now we'll take a little bit more of a dive into the free versus paid stuff. Again, there's not you can get away with using the free version generally, but you do get some nice bells and whistles in the paid version. So I just want to take a moment here and go into some of the differences between the two. All right, so here's kind of their layout here. So again, in the paid version, it's $150 a year, but you do get some extra kind of cool things. Again, I'm not going to go through every single thing. I'm not trying to sell you on it or anything, but just be aware that if you are on the free version, there are some things that you kind of do miss out on. Okay. Again, as we talk today, I'll mention the things that are in the paid version. Okay. But there's this page here. So if you are interested in doing the paid version to kind of get some more features, this is the page to go. All right. One of the biggest things, like we'll talk about here in just a second, is this feedback option here. And so they call it reflect and review. We'll talk more about it in just a second. Basically, I'm sorry, it's right here. The idea is you're able to go back and look at all the students' responses and leave them individualized feedback. And the students themselves are able to go back and look at the feedback that you left for them and go look at the slideshow again and restudy and go back to it whenever they want. Okay, that's probably one of the biggest things. Again, we'll talk about this in just a second. Okay, so next thing to talk about here is our account settings. So this is something that we can do in the free and the paid version. There's a couple of things that are different between the two, but I'll show you what I mean. Okay, and so what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and jump into my Paradex account here. So I'm going to go to paradex.com and go ahead and do the teacher login. And what we'll do is we'll go up to our profile picture in the upper right and go to My Account and then Settings. So my profile picture in the upper right here. I have the premium version, obviously. And then we can go under My Account and then Settings. Okay. From here is where we can change a few options. Okay, so I'll kind of run through some of these real quick here. So the first one is this classroom climate. So this one you'll check for like mood or feedback. You can actually change what they are, what you're checking for. And so you can have this be turned on or off when they join into the session. Immersive Reader we'll talk more about in just a second. This is, as of right now, it's in beta. As of right now, it's only in the paid version that you get Immersive Reader for students. I'm not sure if they're going to have it in the free version once it's out of beta. They haven't really made that super clear yet, so we'll see where that lands. We'll talk more about it in just a second. Below that here we have Google Classroom integration here. So if this is turned on here, we'll have the option to post the Paradex link right into Google Classroom. So it's nice and easy for kids to get to the link to jump right into a Paradex lesson. Okay. And that's really nice if you use Google Classroom, obviously, because then you have to mess with the join code and everything. The link is just sitting there in their Google Classroom ready to go. All right. Next thing here is requiring student login. So again, you can decide whether or not to require students to log in. If you turn this off, you may not be able to tell who said what. If you turn this off, you could make your first question, just have kids put in their name, just make a short answer question and have them put in their name. That would allow you to do that. But collecting email addresses is easier too. Okay. So now let's take a look at Immersive Reader. So what this does, it is a way to really help students who struggle with reading or are ESL to be able to read things on screen much, much easier. Okay, so I'm actually going to go ahead and run a session again here. So I'm going to go ahead and just open up a session. And I just need that link again, actually. Let's open up the student side real quick. And they'll put in their code. And once we get logged in here, oh, sorry, I ended the session. Right. And let me do this one. Okay, so on any slide that it has text on it, so like this one has some text on it, this one has some text on it, this one has some text on it. We'll be able to use Immersive Reader with this little button down here in the bottom. It looks like a little book with a little speaker next to it. And so if you have the premium version, the paid version, students will see this little option come up. When they click on it, it'll grab any text that's on the page and it puts it right into Immersive Reader. And with that, they're able to turn on this like text to speech. Who was the first president
of the United States?
Okay.
Who was the first?
They'll be able to do kind of more stuff from here. They can change some text preferences here, change up the theme and how big the text is. So if I want to make it bigger, change the font, change the color layout, change up some of our grammar options. We can turn on or off syllables, turn on different parts of speech and make them different colors. And we can even put on line focus, which has it focus on 1 line, 3 lines, or 5 lines. And we can even translate the slide as well into a bunch of different languages. Okay, so that's what Immersive Reader does. It is very, very handy. So it's really good for activity slides and for slides that just have information on them. So like the non-interactive ones can still be very, very useful. All right. So again, that's what Immersive Reader is. And again, if you have the premium version, you can turn on that option under settings, and then students will be able to use Immersive Reader. All right, let me grab my charger for my laptop. My laptop's about to die. Yeah, 1 second, sorry. Okay, don't want to run out of juice. Okay. All right, so our next thing here is Flashcard Factory. So this is a whole different part of Paradex. And so what this does is it's a vocabulary practice kind of gamified thing. And so it's a way to practice vocab with a fun like factory setting where students see a vocab term, they write their own definition or give examples, and then do a drawing that kind of complements it. And teachers would create just a list of terms and definitions, and you could basically just create a game lobby for it. Okay, so let's run through what this actually looks like here. Okay. Also at the end of the game, students are left with a flashcard set using a website called Gimkit that they can go back to whenever they want to practice their vocabulary. And you're able to reuse vocab sets over and over again by finding the vocabulary folder inside the Paradex folder in your Google Drive. Okay, so let's start from the beginning here and look at how we do Flashcard Factory. So again, we go to paradex.com. Everything kind of lives there, and we go ahead and log in. Okay, and we're looking for this little green section here for Paradex vocabulary. Once we open this up, here we can create our different sets. Okay, and so if I have my textbook ready, I have my all my different terms and vocab words, whatever, I can put in a term, definitions, and I basically just kind of plug all this stuff in. Okay, like I said, if you end up using Flashcard Factory more than once, you're able to reuse these lists over and over again. The easiest way to get to them is by going to your Google Drive and pulling the vocab list from there. So like I said over here, we go into the vocabulary folder inside the Paradex folder in our Google Drive. Okay, this folder is going to be automatically created for you by Paradex, so there's nothing extra that you have to do. And so all we have to do is find the Paradex folder. It'll be in our My Drive. So I'll go into my Paradex folder. I'll look for the vocabulary folder that's inside of that, so the vocabulary. And then here we go. So I have all my different vocab sets that I have created. Okay, and so if I want to go inside of this one here, I'll just double click on it and then go to Open with Paradex up here at the top. I'll take us back into that editor that we were looking at a minute ago, but hey, here it is. It's all filled in for me. Okay, and if we're ready to run this with our class, we'll click Play Flashcard Factory, and it's going to start the activity for us. Okay, and the teacher screen just works as like a kind of an overall projector. The students are going to see something completely different, but the way they join is going to be the same. Okay, so we can still go to the same joinpd.com, and I'll again go ahead and hop in with a student account here. And joinpd.com, same thing that we saw earlier. And we go ahead and put in our join code. And the first thing students are going to see is these tasks for the day. Okay, so each student will work with their group to make amazing flashcards. The teacher and the classmates will vote on the cards, and then the team with the most chosen cards wins the game. And again, everybody at the end is going to be left with a set of flashcards on this outside website called GimKit that, again, students can come back to whenever they want to study these vocab terms. Okay? As of right now, the student really can't do much. The teacher has to start the game. So just like we saw when we do a normal session, the teacher has to kind of kick things off. Okay? And we'll go ahead and click clock in here, and this will get us started. Okay? And students are broken up into two parts, either day shift or night shift. Everybody's doing the same terms. It's just a way to break apart the groups. And of course, we'll go ahead and start the game. And on this screen, this is the teacher screen. The teacher's not doing much from here. At this point, the teacher's pretty much going to be walking around the room, checking on the students, making sure they're understanding the goal, so on and so forth. And so what students do, let me hop back to the student side. Each student is going to see the term and the definition, and it's their job to do two things for each set for each vocab term. So they'll do a drawing, and on the next page they will do they'll do like a definition or examples. Okay, and so I'll kind of just draw something simple here. So I'm going to try to draw a judge here. Okay, and I'll make a little speech bubble here. Give some arms and legs, and there we go. So there's my excellent drawing of a judge. Okay, let me hit I'm done drawing, and now we do any sort of examples or definitions, and this is just obviously a short answer response section. And so this is where a student can put in examples, and of course you can kind of supplement this stuff and kind of alter it however you'd like. In this case, maybe I would want for kids to tell us what are the two levels of the judicial system. So maybe we would say state courts and federal courts. Okay. Say I'm done writing. There's our flashcard set that's done. We'll say looks good and ship it. And then we're on to the next one. Okay. Back on the teacher screen, we'll see the flashcards show up on screen. And of course, as time goes on, of course, we'll have more, you'll have more students in real life here, but you'll have more activities, more flashcards rather, coming in throughout the activity. And by the end, you'll have a big set of all these different flashcards. Okay, and once students are all done making their flashcards, we go into the next phase, which they call quality control. Again, it's you can kind of tell it's like this gamified way to do vocabulary practice. And so what we do is go into quality control, and everybody is able to vote on what they want to do for these. Let me zoom out here. What we want to do for these different vocabulary terms. Each student on their own devices, this is what they're going to see. They'll be able to see the example that other groups drew and whatever they wrote. Okay. On the teacher side, on the big screen, as a class, we vote for, okay, do we want to add this one to the final list or not? Okay. And I say, okay, this looks good. We'll go ahead and vote for it. And we'll kind of repeat that process for all of the activities. And once we're done, we can print the set or export it to the outside website GimKit. And just like that, I'll just go ahead and not name it here. And now we have a link for it. And this goes into this outside website. Then we can just hang on to this, this web page here. Again, it gives us this link here that we can put right into Google Classroom. And now this website here, students can come back to whenever they want, especially right before a quiz or a test, to come and study their vocab. Okay, and that's pretty much what there is to this vocab factory here. Okay. Again, it has a lot of steps more for the student side. Probably the most time-consuming thing is on the teacher side is putting the sets together. Again, because you have to use this page here and type out all the terms and definitions here. Okay. If you want to find some items that are here already, under this little side menu, you can go into Find Vocabulary Lists, and there's a small library of other vocabulary terms kind of separated out by grade level here that you can use. Okay. All right. Next thing here is reflect and review. So I've alluded to this a couple of times. By the way, the Flashcard Factory is on the free version as well. So regardless of if you have the free or the paid version, you can do Flashcard Factory. Now, reflect and review. So this one is only on the paid version. So what this part of Paradex does here is it lets you and your students review all responses after a Paradex session is closed. So regardless of if you did a live session, teacher-led instruction session altogether, or if you had students do a student-paced session, this is a way to look back at everything kind of all in one spot, and the teacher can leave individualized feedback for students. Okay. If you want to read more here on slide 28, that gives you all the full details, all about reflect and review. Okay, but let's go ahead and dive into what this looks like and how to actually do it. All right, so I'm going to close out all the extra stuff I don't need. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump over to Paradex.com yet again, and we go ahead and log in. And the way to get to reflect and review is by going to our sessions page again. So this is the same place that we looked at earlier to go look at all of our responses. And this is the same place we're going to go for reflect and review. Okay. Again, reflect and review is only in the paid version. Just keep that in mind. And what I can do is I can go look back at any session that we already have that we've already done. And we're going to be able to leave individualized feedback and really kind of take things on a more individual level. Okay, and so if I go back to a session, here's ours from earlier. We go to the same three dots that we went to earlier, but instead of doing export to spreadsheet, we'll pick the option here called reflect and review. Okay, inside of here, we'll have the link that we can give out to students, because this is very much a two-way street. The idea is it's a web page that the teacher and the student can look at and be able to basically talk with each other about how the student responded. Okay, and so if I want to share this over to Google Classroom, so each kid will see their reflect and review page, I can do that. We'll talk about what this takeaways thing is in just a little bit. Okay, but for now, I'm going to go ahead to the bottom and click on Open Reflect and Review. And we'll pick which student. So I'll pick Andrew Anderson here. And we're basically going slide by slide, looking at how he responded. Of course, the lecture slides or instruction slides, there's nothing for the student to do on there. They're just informational. But we'll go to our first actual activity slide. All right, so here it is. So here's the first one that the student actually did. And I can leave some feedback for him. And I can say, it looks like your day was going pretty good. Need anything? Okay. Leave him some feedback. Keep on scrolling. He answered that question right. Awesome. Next question here. Oh, he answered that one wrong. So I can again leave him some feedback. Dog, whatever feedback that you want, of course, right? Okay, and so on and so forth. Okay, and all the stuff saves in real time, so there's no like submission that we have to do or anything. And once a student is ready, and you give and they have the link for them to go do, this is what they're going to see. So let's go ahead and jump into the student side. And again, the student is able to look at slide by slide how they responded. That's where he left his out. These are no longer movable. These are no longer really interactive at this point. But the student can reflect back on how he answered. Okay. You'll notice a little indicator down here in the bottom right that we have some feedback from the teacher. And so we can see, oh, my teacher left a note for me. It says, look like your day was going pretty good. I can jump to that slide. I can jump over to the next activity or next one point where he left me some feedback. And I can basically just jump from point to point. Okay. As of right now, there isn't a way for the student to reply back again. Hopefully they add that as a feature in the future. But as of right now, it's kind of more just a way to look at feedback, and it's a good way for students to come back, review all this stuff in one spot, especially as they're studying or preparing for a quiz or a test. Okay. All right, so let me jump back over here. And again, from here, I'll be able to reflect and give some feedback here for each individual student, and from this little drop down, I'm able just to go from student to student. Right. And that's pretty much what there is to reflect and review. It's pretty easy to use. Again, you'll just want to make sure that you give the link to students. Okay. So again, it gives you another opportunity up here at the top of the screen to copy the student link. And of course, I can just drop that into Google Classroom. And as you noticed at the beginning, you can directly do that as well. All right. Next thing here is takeaways. So this is essentially the same exact thing that we just saw, but instead of doing it on a special web page here. Instead, what Takeaways does is it makes individualized Google Docs and it includes all that same information all in a self-contained Google Doc. Okay, so the way to make these is the exact same process. So we come to paradex.com here, go to our sessions section, go to the three dots for whatever session that we want. And we would click on the reflect and review button. Again, this is also something that's only in the paid version. And we can click this generate takeaways button here. This one does take some time to load. And when you're finished letting it do its thing here, I'll show you what the finished product looks like here. It's going to save all these individualized Google Docs into your drive under the Paradex folder. So it's going to automatically put them in the Paradex folder. And it puts them in a folder inside of it called Takeaways. And then it'll have another folder for whatever session it was. Okay. And then inside of this here, we'll have all of our different individualized Google Docs. Okay. So if I open up one of them here, here's the whole summary page, whole takeaway page that belongs to this person. Okay, so it has a picture for each slide. Let's go to our first actual activity slide here. Okay. As you can see, there's a lot of loading here, so it's a little slower to use. But again, you can see all this stuff again show up in one spot. It does also automatically share each of the Google Docs with the appropriate person. So for example, let me do this so it's a little bit easier to see here. So like this one here was shared, was created for Amy Heller here. And it's going to automatically share this Google Doc with her. Okay. So only the teacher and the student have access to that Google Doc. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Again, that's the takeaways and the reflecting review are both only in the premium version. All right. So that pretty much is going to bring us down to the end here, everybody. So here's our to-do list that we started with. So we talked about what is Paradex and how do I get it. Then we went into a live demo. Then we talked about student and teacher-paced modes. Then we looked at how to look at all of our results in various different ways. Then we talked about how to create your own decks, whether you want to do something from scratch or kind of sprinkle in some Paradex activities into your existing slideshows. We took a look at the flashcard factory and reflect and review. All right. And that's pretty much going to bring us down to the end for this session yet again here. So again, here's the short link for this slideshow. If you want to have this as a copy for yourself, it's at bit.ly/neoPairDeck. If you're here live with us, I'll put the link for the sign-in in the chat so you can get a certificate of attendance. If you are watching this as a PD on demand, on the PD on demand page, there's a button for getting a certificate of attendance on that page. All right. But again, thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any other questions, again, feel free to reach out. dneeson@neonet.org. My email is the best way to get a hold of me if you have any questions. Thanks again so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.